Everything you see here is strictly informational. Forex is a high-risk business. Please do not place trades with more money than what you don't have. Please do not trade other people's money. Do not borrow any money than what you cannot trade with. And please take everything that I say as a personal opinion. I am not considered a financial advisor. I'm not considered a broker. I am just one here simply recording my journey along learning the markets. Alright guys, what's going on? It is Ted with Bodies and Wicks. And man, so yeah, my trades yesterday, if anybody was following crypto, they know my trades did not go well at all. Lost all of them. Good thing there. I always have low lot sizes. I'm still practicing. I'm still new. But I did. Wouldn't really say I discover. I rediscovered ICT. Circle Trader, and I'm gonna credit a lot of what I'm about to do to him for him. So because he's kind of blew my mind, to be honest. And I've always known about smart money trading. I've always known about institutional trading, but spent a lot of time over the weekend taking a look at his stuff, and I think my forecast is going to be kind of based on what his teachings are going to be. So I could be completely wrong, but we'll see. I'll see if I can't throw something out there, and we'll see if if what I'm going to say is close to his teachings, and or if I'm understanding something wrong, or I don't know. But I'm going to be paper trading a lot with TradingView as well, to try to see if I can't learn a lot better. Because if anybody, we're always a student in this, right? I don't think anybody is perfect at this. Everybody loses a trade. Everybody just saw me lose a trade last night. And I'm fairly new. Yeah, I've just started in May, and to be honest, I shouldn't be trading my own money yet. I really shouldn't. I've been, every once in a while I'll get a couple good trades, and then I'll get a couple bad ones. So, I've been fluctuating, and to me, it's almost time to where I should probably take a break. As far as trading my own real money, and just do paper trading for a while. But I'm going to do a weekly forecast. I'll do probably just a couple Forex pairs, and I want to do the indexes as well, indices. I want to take a look at S&P and stuff like that. But I'm going to see if I can't come up with something a little bit of a different idea than what everybody else is going to say, and we'll see what we can't come up with, and see if it's going to happen or if it's not going to happen. So first, let's go ahead and move over to this chart, shall we? Okay, so now I've been breaking off my my days into midnights, right? Because evidently that's when price is set. I wouldn't say price is set, but that's when there is a definite distinction in between. That's when the Asian market kind of ends, and the London session is about to begin. So there's things that are probably either switching or boiling up for the next day, for whatever is going to happen during the London session. That's going to follow through the American session. So as I looked through last week, and I started looking at his fibs, and his fibs are drawn a little bit different. He has a 62%, so I've left mine at 6.8, close enough. 70.5 and a 78.5. So I've left those kind of like his. My targets are a lot different. I just kind of thrown these on there, and to be honest, I probably need to take these off. Just because, well, I could probably leave this one on, but I probably could take some of these off, like these -1 point or -0.11, -0.272. I'll probably leave the 0.414, and not 1618, but probably just 0.618. Those are probably targets that could be had. So as I'm looking at this, and one of the first things I noticed, especially as we start, I think it was last week, right? So Monday we didn't really have much going on, right? Monday's kind of the day where it kind of sets up everything, and then Tuesday, there's Tuesday, like right after midnight, the London session starts, and as soon as it starts, it's just cable takes off. GBP takes off, and it finally gets its peak. It comes back down at around noon, and then it trades back up. And so what his teachings have been teaching me of, draw your fib. If it comes back up into, these 7.85 zones, short those. And to short those, when you short those, aim for the most nearest low. Well, if you aim for the most nearest low, you do eventually get there, but it takes a day, and if you leave it there, if you leave the fib there, it trades back up into the zone again. So you actually have 2 times of the trading ability to hit that short. On the opposite end, if you were to, it doesn't break, so you have to think about rules of engagement and it breaking. Basically, if highs are broken and things like that, that's when you kind of trade turn your sentiment toward a different direction. So why did that just do that? That was weird. So if you were to use this as your high, right, and then wait for it to come back in to trade at the 62 level, you would have got that on Friday, right? But you would have got it Friday right at the end of the day, right? So you would have come down, traded. So that would actually started your day to day, heading for that high. So sentiment going into tomorrow would be that we are probably going to be aiming for these highs. So that's why I have this line drawn here. Now, that being said, since I'm not really for sure when the next period that we're going to be able to enter is, until this stops and starts pulling backwards, which I'm not for sure if it will. So the next best guess I can have would be to set some kind of buy limit, probably around the 2.94 area, right? Something like that. And then I think we will see, something like this happen and then break that high. And then probably sometime in the morning, and I think this is probably happening right now due to if we go to Forex Factory and we take a look at what's happening today, we got Fed Chair Powell speaking, so that is going to be a detriment to the dollar, or it could be a detriment to the dollar, or what people are doing, or what the banks are doing anyway, is they're pushing this up, up because they think that it could be a good thing or a bad thing for the dollar, right? So they're pushing it up to a certain point, and once they get to a certain point and Fed Chow starts speaking, it's going to start trading in the opposite direction. That way they do get the best possible trading scenario. So that's what I am going to think is going to happen, especially with cable tomorrow. I think we are trading up toward this high. We could get up past the high, but I think probably around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning is when we're going to see that direction start to change. It could be 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I am not 100% sure. But I do think that we will start to see this continue to float up and eventually turn around once we see Fed Chair Powell start speaking. If we go to something like Euro USD, let's see here. I was thinking that we kind of just went sideways a lot this week, and we kind of did. But let's say, sorry, I haven't really put the midnight ones in here. I do have the session breaks from the Asian session and whatnot. But I do want to start putting the like midnight breaks in here. Oops, didn't mean to do that because I forgot I have. Well, that shouldn't have come up. Okay, there we go. Where's midnight? It's somewhere around here. All right. Midnight somewhere around here. There we go. Midnight somewhere around here. Why is it jumping over it? I don't know. We're close enough. Jesus, why it acts like there's no midnight. Close enough. 5 minutes, whatever. Midnight September. Okay, so this is the week before. So that is okay. So midnight somewhere around in here. And then that 17th, 18th, 16th, 14th, and 13th. Okay, and then we can take the session breaks off. Or we can leave them on, actually, to see what happens in between the Asian session and midnight. So, if we take a look at what happened last week, right? The biggest day that we had, it looks like it was Wednesday, if I'm not correct. So, it looks like that Sunday night-ish, whatever it was, up into Monday, kind of leading. Nothing really happened. Monday, looks like we did end up closing up a little bit higher. I think these red lines here are old trend lines, which I actually do not believe in anymore. So I want to see how many pips this gave out on this day going up. Not too much. Okay, 47. Had to wait all day to get it if we're going to go from midnight to midnight. Maybe, if somebody, let's see here, if we went, looks like around 8 o'clock in the morning, right around whenever, 8:30 and the New York session started. Looks like the most you would have got would have been about 25 pips. But if you would have went from, right after midnight, right when the London session started, up into the New York session, you would have got about 35 pips. So it was a sideways day, definitely for the euro, especially going up and down through here. But the main thing is to know is that you should have a trading sentiment. You should know which direction that you are going to trade for that day. And let's see here if we can't find some kind of fib relationship, on one of these days. Because here, if we would have been going, we hit the low and closed here. We didn't really go much lower, right? And then where we closed was actually the high. So it's kind of hard to figure out which direction you're going to trade after a day like Monday, like that. So I think after the Tuesday close, it was the day you could really kind of tell if it is going to be a down day. He said that usually you get about 30 pips above before you start trading lower. And look at that. So from midnight until you get the high during the London session, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then it starts trading lower, and then it trades from, let's see here, London session all the way down to about 10 o'clock at night. You get 144 pips on Wednesday, going from, or selling the euro. Wow. So his teachings were definitely definitely on par for that one. So if I'd have woke up in the middle of the night, or got up at like 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning, realized they were about 30 pips above, hit sell, left about a 30 pip stop loss, would have got a pretty good gain that day. So that being said, the sentiment probably would have also, since that was probably a swing low, I probably would have expected it to go lower, following the next day. But what happened is that it went lower after the session break. So there's the two distinguishing factors that I'm trying to distinguish between his teachings, is that, between the session breaks, you can't expect it to go lower. So between the London session and the New York session, it would end around here, right? You would have gotten, but then since the sentiment was already going down, you would expect to continue going lower, and that would be the case. But since it came up and closed up, if it doesn't come down and break the new low, then you would be looking to go higher. And then it looks like Thursday traded sideways. So what are we looking at this week? That is a good question. Let's see if we can't scale in here and see if we can't. I'm probably going to think the same thing as far as cable is concerned. Because if, let's say, we did the same thing with that fib retracement that we did with cable. Let's see here. So if we start from here, right, at a high, this breaks the new low right here of the week. If it would actually stay there, boom, right there. So that looks like it breaks the low for the week. So the low for the week was right there. It drifted back up right into that 70.5, and that's where, right at that, the London session time, the 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning, sold lower. And now if we, show sentiment and it gets lower, it didn't break the high though. It didn't come up and break a new high, unless you want to talk about a lower level swing higher. But even then, it didn't break that until here. So if that is the case and we want to do a fib, you would want to do a fib here, down to here, but then again it just continued going higher. So that is, I don't know where that came from or what that is. But what that did do is that provided, wherever that high was, that did provide the new new support, is actually what that was. So I'm just trying to sit here and see what kind of forecast that he would do, considering that would have been the new swing high to swing low, where would have been the optimal trade entry if you're going to go low or go high. We didn't really have one after it broke this new high. Actually, it would have been this. Now that I'm taking a look at it, it would have been going down here, right? We put it down at the bottom of here. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit closer so everybody can see. But then again, well, I guess, yeah, it could make sense if we did, and then drop this in right here. It would only hit the 50 though. Well, actually, I am at the, here we go, it needs to be at the bodies. Still only 50% retracement. Okay, I mean, you know, it could be a good entry. Not the entry that we would be hoping for, but that could be a possible, you know, entry nonetheless. Thing about it is that if you would have drawn, you know, horizontal array from this peak here going sideways, you could have seen that probably was the optimal entry to enter, even though it wasn't at the exact, well, I guess you could probably pull it here too, since this had a little bit more volatility to it. Then I don't know. I guess that could be the, and then it came exactly to the 61.8%. So, so I'm just trying to guess, you know, where we're going to be headed to this week. If we're going to be kind of putting these fibs on here and not guessing, but trying to utilize this as a tool and moving into tomorrow or into today. It looks like we had, you know, on Friday we did break the high. This is today here. Looks like, you know, it did. So this broke, looks like Thursday or Friday broke the high of Thursday, right? So if you're gonna break the high, it looks like it is at that current high right now. So I am not for sure if it is going to continue breaking that high or not. It could be at its high point if it's going to be continue pushing down, but it looks like it's maybe not be. But if we are going to buy, right, it would have been, let's see here, which I think is what is going to be the case. It's going to be buying up into the London session. London session, we're going to have the high, right? Here, let's see how many pips we're at right now from the start of today up into, it's already at about 35 pips. So if anything, if it doesn't start going backwards or continue going sideways, I don't think we're going to see a down day. I do think we're going to see an up day tomorrow, or at least an up day until you know, we hit London session. It could turn around, or I think we're going to see a completely up day for Euro USD until about 9 o'clock, and then it could turn around for maybe about 30 pips or so during about 9 o'clock until about noon. But I do see Euro USD doing the same thing, continuing upwards. And this is for tomorrow. After tomorrow, I may have a completely different outlook, depending on how we see things happening. But it looks like for here, where this would have been probably a buy situation, is that wherever it looks like this did break. Well, it broke the high here, right? But you go to the nearest body after the high. Well, shit. And go to the most recent low. And is that the nearest body? Let me see. Looks like it probably would have been more somewhere along the lines of here. After it did break the high, go to the highest body. Here you have probably the lowest body. Trade back into that, and that would have been right at the end of, again, right at the end of the day on Friday. You would have entered that trade if this would have been the sentiment, and then you would have been looking at already 35 pips going into right now. So I wish I would have known a lot of this stuff before market open today, because I could probably be at a different level. Let's check out XAUUSD. I had been paper trading this one. I got a signal to sell as soon as it opened. Not a good idea, as you can tell, it is also having the same sentiment. So I paper traded this one rather than actually using my real money. Legally, I can't tell you that I do use my real money if I do, because once I do, I guess I'm overstepping legal boundaries. Things that you learn, while doing stuff on the internet, huh? But let's say here, let's go from midnight here. If I can find midnight, because I'm going off 5-minute charts from now on. I do like it. I know 5-minute charts looks like a bunch of noise, but to me, I feel like you can kind of get a sense of direction on what's going on in a 5-minute chart. I feel like I'm missing a midnight in here somewhere. Am I not? That's 1700. So I'll go all the way back into here. All right. Only I want to test this theory again. If we're going to have a down day at the very start at midnight, most you're going to have is about 30 pips, about 23. Interesting. And then, of course, we did have a down day. It should go past the opening at midnight. Once it goes, and I've heard it put in a sell stop, have a 30 pips stop loss, and yep, you would have won that trade. So, there's a lot of truth coming from this guy. So if you guys have not heard of the Inner Circle Trader, I'm not telling you to listen to every word he says. I'm telling you, I've been watching him, and it has definitely changed the way I look at trading. So I'm going to take a look at what happened last week with XAUUSD. Again, every day you need to have a trading sentiment about which day that you want to trade. If you are going to have a high, it's probably going to happen in between during the London session. It looks like this did not have the high during the London session. Looks like it didn't really have a low during the London session. Looks like during the London session it traded. So, but at about 6 o'clock in the morning, it looks like we kind of got a high. This looks like a news day to me. I'm not for sure what happened on the 15th, but what do I have? I think this is, yeah, that's a session break more than anything. But what I do want to look at is going into today. All right, so if we are going to go into today, looking at tomorrow, it looks like we are going to be going after the new highs. If we are going to be going after the new highs, it looks like probably the best time to, probably the same thing as the rest of them. Yeah, I'm just going to throw something on there for right now. But it looks like probably the body from here down to this low here. And then once again, at the end of the day on Friday, it looks like it came right into, or probably the start of the day today, it came right into that 70, or no, it would have been the 62%. So it looks like it would have been a 62% here, came back up. Actually, you probably, but that high didn't happen until here, right? So on Thursday or on Friday, probably would have caught a good buy by taking this kind of trading advice. My thing is that if you can just catch, a couple of these a week, three or four pairs, do this a couple times a week and be consistent at it, that's really all you need to be a profitable trader, because then you're not trading 20 pairs at once and throwing in little lot sizes and losing a little bit here and there. All you really need is just a couple pairs, find the foundation, and then go for it there. So that being said, it looks like this is going to eventually buy and attack these highs, or it looks like, just like the other ones, it already is attacking the highs. Now, if we get above the highs, I'm not for sure. But it does look like, let's see if we have already gotten above 30 pips for the day. We are at about 35, 38, somewhere around there. Since the session has started, which is interesting on a Sunday night, because usually you don't get that much. So this stuff from the Fed, I think, is definitely have some kind of effect on it, because usually the Asian session is usually not like this, especially since Japan has a bank holiday tomorrow. So what we could see is that since it already is at these highs, if we don't take out these highs, what we could see is it doing some sideways motion until, well, we could see sideways motion. We could see, I'm not for sure. We could see right at 2 o'clock in the morning, it already be at the high, or at 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever, the London sessions start, it'd already be at the high, and then we could, why is this not, no, it's because it's still in drawing mode. And that's one thing I hate about the brush, it just stays in brush mode and won't let you do anything. So we could see this here, and then at, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, we could see a huge, downward slope. But I think what's probably going to happen is that we could probably be going after these highs instead, right, for Aussie. So for the Aussie, it could be going after these highs and break it during the London session. Hold it maybe until around the New York session, until about 9 o'clock, whenever we see Powell speak, and then we could see it go the opposite way. But I do see a lot of volatility tomorrow, especially this whole week, whenever we see Fed Chair Powell speak, especially about monetary policy in the U.S. Any kind of dollar pair is going to be probably very volatile. Let's check out gold. Since the dollar pair is also going to be very volatile, gold is probably going to be doing the same. It hasn't been doing as well, actually since session break has since started. Gold has actually moved around quite a bit. So if we take a look at the since the beginning, if we would have taken that from the very beginning to the high already, that is from 1946 to 1955. So it already has an $11 range in the Asian session, which you usually do not see. It looks like, if we look at the RSI though, did hit a peak. I was going to see if it was going to start sloping down. Then it would be a little bit of a divergence. Not really sloping down though, it's staying sideways as this is going up, which means you probably could see a push in gold, which we have been seeing a little bit of a push in gold. It looks like the bears are trying to suppress it, but I called at some point last week that gold would hit somewhere in between 58 and 60, and I was buying through here, trying to hope that it would happen. And I had my stop loss set at like 1950. I think I got up to it was late at night. I know that, so I think I had bought it around 1951, 1952. It got up to about 54, and yeah, I was right around here because it was late at night. And I cut my didn't cut my losses, but I took what little profit I had and I just went to bed. And I'm glad I did, because when I woke up, it was, gold had been falling, and then all of a sudden it just kicked up and then, turned around and then got up to where I thought it was going to go, which was in between 58 and 60. I just kind of knew it was going to hit this spot. And the reason I thought it was going to hit this spot is because of liquidity. There was a lot of liquidity forming in here. Again, that's another thing that what's his name has been teaching me, is knowing where liquidity is. And this is just a ton of liquidity right here. So this is people fighting back and forth, and then the banks are eventually going to take that liquidity, right? So they're going to let the retail players fight for themselves the entire time, and then what are the banks going to do? The banks are going to take them out, and that's why you see this huge push down, a huge push up. This is the banks in action right here. They just come right through here, and then they stall right through here, and they let the retailers do it all over again, and then they say, no, we're just going to take you out, and then they took them out again, and rinse and repeat. So I think that's what's happening right now, is that we're seeing this kind of retail fighting. That's happening. But that being said, whoever is selling, and I saw a lot of ideas come through TradingView saying that gold was going to sell. I personally don't think that it is going to sell tomorrow. I mean, I think we're going to see it buy, and then once Fed Chair Powell speaks, I think we're going to see it fall off. So I think it will be a volatile day, but I do think that we'll probably see a little bit of a dip and then come up again, probably break this 1960 area, right? And then after that, I think it will probably fall back down and probably rest around 1955 or so, just because it's going to sit on top of where the retail traders had fought last time. And then after that, we are probably going to see another box form right around through here of retail fighting and liquidity form all over again, until we see another form of distribution, and then the banks are going to, but eventually it's got to get down to it's got to get down to here at some point. And I have it marked here to this 1920 and 28, 1924 level. Eventually it is going to get down here. I don't know when, but I do think it will get down here, only because these have not been mitigated. What I mean by mitigated is that there is probably some institutions still holding some sell positions for some reason, and because I don't see, they buy to sell and sell to buy, right? So there is sell positions still in here, right, that haven't, and plus right here is a huge area of what's the word I'm looking for? Let's see. It looks like it came down. This is the lowest it came since then, right? So if we do a little vertical line here, get this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Do a little vertical line here, right? There we go. So now we have imbalance from right through here. What I mean by imbalance is this is all sell pressure right? And there hasn't been any buying pressure come through here, right? So that being said, there does need to be some buy pressure come down through there, and because basically price just jumped, right? Price just jumped from here to here. That being said, here we have our last sell candles, right? So we have a sell candle here, we have a sell candle here. These are probably from the institutions that way they can get a better placement, but so they can buy. And again, this one hasn't been mitigated, this one hasn't been mitigated, so that's why I think we're eventually going to come down to these levels before we see anything go higher. I'm not for sure if we'll get down to 1911. I think these may have been mitigated. But it could. We could see it come down to 1912 to mitigate that area. At the same time, it looks like, and you have some imbalance here too, it looks like. So I do still think we are still going to see some pushes to the downside from gold, but as of right now, it looks like it is going to be buying until it can start taking out those liquidity areas, from the retail sellers. Let's see if we can find a break in a break in a high or anything like that. So this is the new high, this is the new low. So if we draw one of these fibs down to up, body to body, yeah, it looks like they're right in this box of where probably the best time to buy is. But then again, it looks like the best people already got in down here, and I have a feeling it's probably going to come back down into this zone before it starts to buy again. So it'll probably come back down to this zone because you'll see it start coming up, right? And so what people do is they start putting their stop losses up in here, so at least they don't lose, right, any money. At least they gain, whatever or some people will just set their stop losses right at entry or something like that. And then they'll cut, the banks will push it back down before pushing it back up. So I do think we are going to see a push, probably during the London session. Maybe it could be the opposite though. We could see, we could see it buy first before it, it pushes back down into here, and then let's see here. We could see something like this, to where it comes up here and then comes back down into here and then comes back into here, and does something like that. That's what I'm thinking. It could either be one of those two possibilities, but it's going to try to take out, retail traders either way. So just be careful of that, possibility. That being said, what I like to try to do is think of a place where it is going to go, right? So, the reason I thought it was going to go here, if we take this and we put this down to one of the bodies, right? So where is the lowest body that we have? Right there. Right, and here is the 0, right? Where is the... I moved over here. It is back over here somewhere. I have no idea. There it is. I should have it flipped. Jeez. Sorry, guys. Excuse my. At least I'm in the right area now. Here, what I could do is I could do this to make it a little bit easier on people. It wasn't there, it was here, since this was the high. And even then, that's still a little bit farther, a lot higher than the fib than I thought it was going to be. But I thought I had placed a fib somewhere to where it was almost at that like 80%. But I just knew that right here was a liquidity level that we hadn't been taken out before. You know, it did kind of come up here for a brief moment, but then get rejected. Same thing, comes up to here to 60 level, 1960 level, gets rejected. I think we're eventually going to push through that. I think we're eventually going to push through that 60 level, probably to about 65, because there are going to be so many people that are going to have their sell stops, or not sell stops, their sell limits and whatnot, and they're probably going to have their you know, their stop loss is probably just above that to about 65. So I think that's why we're going to go through that 65 before we come back down. I know I have it drawn up to about 60, but I do think we're probably going to see it probably more along the lines of up here. So be careful of that. Now, anybody that is trading gold, USD CAD, I would do want to take a look at this one. Just because I did, you know, last week we did get into this. I got into this a couple times, made quite a bit of money as a retail trader on this one. Was able to catch. This one took me out because I had this was during some kind of, I think it was that, I don't know, FOMC or whatever. I had my stop loss like set like right here, and it wicked right through it. It's like, man, I was dumb, but I did end up catching this. I know I caught most of this. I think I explained that in the video. That was good whenever I caught that. Even though this took me out, I eventually got back in, and I did catch this. Right, well, that didn't work out. I want to say this was a good 40 pips or so, because it was somewhere in here and it just kind of fought for a while. But 60 pips maybe. I think I was somewhere around 40 was I got. Here, this dotted line, this was definitely my my entry zone. And so I know I got in again, and then I got that back up, and until it was almost the end of the day, I want to say it was around here, I decided to get out a little bit early because I thought toward the end of the day it would start pushing back down. I do want to say I caught a very, very good amount of pips on that. It was around 50. And then so today I have not, since I closed that one, I figured this would actually come down and give me a different entrance, or different entry point, and then going off of the teachings of the ICT, going off what I think is going to happen if we go down to the body of the low, to the body of the high. I think I have it up here, because I think this was wicked. Where do I have it? I think it was here. I don't know why. I think it's because it was the same low as this. For some reason, they just got interchanged. But most recent low, most recent body of the high, or we could put it here. But this was yesterday, or this was Friday. I think that's why I think I have them like that, to go into today and to see. And I have it right now at the 75, it has touched the 50 and started to turn around. I do think, again, the US dollar will sell off just a little bit more. Again, we were at the highs of the others, and it seems like the dollar's kind of stalled for the time being. It is 11:35 on Sunday night. 12:35 would be New York time, 9:35 LA time. So I am Central time, Chicago time, even though I'm not in Chicago. But that's where I would be. Again, I do have paper trading set, a limit set here. To see if it's going to come down to this area, which is just a little bit above my previous entrance. It may stay above that, just because people have been buying US CAD. This is the start of a swing trade that is probably going to go the opposite direction and take off north for quite some time. So I probably shouldn't have completely exited the trade, but I did. And the only reason I did is because again, my entrances was here, so I would still be in a very good position. But I figured if I exited and took all the money, or took all the paper money, I would have a better chance coming into the day to find another entrance. The bad part is that could be during the London hours, but again, I do have some limits set to see if I can't catch that paper trade. But if you were into US CAD last week, you probably still should be holding. And same thing with U franc. And this one hasn't pulled as far back as the others have, like Cable and Euro USD. It seems like those are at their if Cable and Euro USD were the same as the franc and the Canadian dollar, they'd be all the way down here right now, but they're not, because it seems like these have a little bit stronger sentiment toward them, and that I feel like the reason being is I have no idea what this is doing here, because I did not definitely take that trade. Only because it feels like these are swing trades. Both of these. It seems like we went sideways here for a little bit. We hit the lowest point that we ever had for U franc, and then we finally starting to take off. Came back down, dipped, and hopefully you got the dip. And on Friday, and now we're taking back off, and it seems like we're dipping again. And we could be taken back off on U franc as well. So I have a feeling that the dollar will eventually turn around and go positive, especially for the franc and the CAD. As far as the rest of them, I'm not for sure. NZD USD has been kind of odd already. It's been going sideways a little bit, not really been pushing up as much as what Euro USD and GBP USD has. It's been a mystery as to why it hasn't been pushing up so much. It's given us about 20 pips or so, but Aussie USD can give us 40 already. So it's gonna be interesting, to say the least. Another way I actually want to look at is Euro GBP. Usually this crossover will kind of give us a different kind of look at what we could be seeing for the week as well, as far as which is going to be stronger, the euro or the pound versus the dollar. And I think the pound kind of took a beating last week, but then or actually it looks like it didn't. looks like the euro kind of took more of a beating than the pound did, at least toward the middle of the week. It looks like it kind of traded sideways for most of the week, and that's probably because the pound versus the dollar and the euro versus the dollar both were very volatile. So it kept Euro GBP kind of stable, it looks like. And here, I'm not for sure exactly what happened here, especially during the London session trading hours. It just seems like it was sideways. Maybe just a little bit, and then same thing here. I'm not for sure what to expect out of Euro GBP this week, especially since the dollar is going to be a little bit of erratic. But if the dollar, if Euro USD is flying off the handle, and Euro GBP, or not, and the cable is not doing anything, then Euro GBP, you should probably see the GBP or Euro GBP flying off the handle as well, because then that means GBP is probably being weak. But we'll see how that sentiment is going to play out. Let me take a look and see if there's anything that we can kind of, let's say, I think it's probably going to buy, to be honest. I mean, if it were to buy, it would probably already be at its buying point. And the reason I say that is because it looks like if we were to break, the high on Friday, and we were to draw a fib from that high to a most recent low, I probably need to turn these around. I always do that. Fib from the body, and yeah, it looks like this one got the body as well. This one is not actually in the body. There we go. This one would have actually traded a little bit further back into this, which means probably, yeah, well, actually, I don't know. This actually could probably sell, because it looks like we have this, right? So we have a lot of low-level liquidity, right? So there are a lot of buyers throughout all of this. It probably all needs to be taken out, right? So if that all needs to be taken out, I would probably flip this. And it looks like it may have already been in the perfect selling opportunity. So this is what my thought is on this. To be honest, I don't think we're going to be going for these highs on Euro GBP. It looks like we could be selling the euro versus the pound. We look at Forex Factory, see what we got going on for GBP. Nothing going on until Tuesday. Euro, nothing till Wednesday. And even then, so I may not see much happening for Euro GBP until Wednesday. But it does look like Tuesday we do have something going on. So this could all be just to be determined by the dollar, right? So I'm at Euro USD, GBP. Where is that? There we go. Euro GBP. I do see a lot of low-level liquidity that we could be aiming for. It looks like it probably could have already hit its optimal entry point. That being said, it could come back up into it. Who knows? We'll have to see what's going to happen during the London session. It could swing down, come back into it, and then sell. And then I think it has to hit all of these targets down through here. Just because that's all, it seems like there was a lot of buying that was going on, and that needs to be taken out. And just look at this. There's a lot of manipulation there, that's for sure. Look at that. It's just like it's almost. So it seems like there probably is a lot of sell stops underneath here, right, by the banks. So it's eventually got to get back down to this level. Because it seemed like that's what it was doing most of the week. Well, we had that one day where it just kind of took off, right? In between 2 and 3 o'clock, looks like it set its high for the day and then took off. And then this didn't trade until the New York session. And then before the New York session, decided to turn around. Euro GBP has been kind of all over the place, it looks like. It looks like it's just been taking out retail traders left and right. So, because you could have went either way with this one. I mean, 81 pips on Euro GBP, 85 Euro pips going one way and then turning around. And, so you could have got 160 pips if you would have got this exactly right. But nobody's going to get that exactly right. If anything, you could have got 100 pips just by buying and selling, just by changing the sentiment. That being said, I do want to throw a fib on this. I do want to go from down to up, because it looks like this did break a high. If you want to come down and shoot for the 70.5, which it looks like it did, give yourself some room for a stop. Well, after it broke the low too, but even then, if you did enter here, right at that 70.5 level, right, the highest you would have gotten right now, you would have given you about a day to get 60 pips. That being said, let's see if there's another fib that we can see that's drawn where it's broken, which it has, and it looks like it broke here. Like I said, if your trading sentiment is down, right, so let's say we flip it, we say it's going to sell, broke the high, we think it's going to sell downward. Again, it's in that perfect area. Let's see if I can't find that other fib that let's delete that one out of there. It is right at that 70.5 level. Oh, let me pull this down a little bit, because that is definitely in the wicks and not the bodies. It looks like they're on the bodies here. Okay. That's the highest body there. Lowest body here. And it looks like we're right at that 70.5. So if you were to have selling sentiment, right now it'd probably be the time to pull the trigger. Let's see if 30 pips above that will give you enough room. Definitely would. Or place a sell stop right at where the entry is, right at midnight, which is about to happen. Right, wake up in a few hours and we'll see where we're at. But Euro GBP going sideways since the Asian session, or since Sunday night has started. Pretty interesting indication that the the dollar is going to be the talk of the day tomorrow. Let's get into the indices, shall we? All right, SPX. So again, we saw, if we go to, I've got these drawn out too, but if we go to the daily, right, I think we went up one day and then we went down 3 days. So even though we started off the week to where it looked like we were going to do good, and then we finished the week off lower than what we thought we would. Or at least I thought we would. But the way I played this is, I actually did have a good way of playing this. I think whenever I did a video about this on Thursday, I want to say, I want to close this. I gave a interesting viewpoint, or at least a strategy on what you can do when it comes to the S&P, and drawing out from day to day, or at least the New York session anyway, because that's what a lot of the traders see. So if we were to draw out the New York session on Friday, right? So New York session for me is 8:30. I'm gonna go ahead and put a horizontal line in there, and then we're gonna go to 3 o'clock the previous day. I think I've already got it drawn out, actually. Well, I guess you could say there, that's the session break. It actually ends at 4 o'clock, or 4 o'clock is when the bell rings, but for some reason it goes for another hour, so whatever. And let's just say we had these lows, right? I'm gonna get rid of this right here, and then so what I did is I put this right here, right? And so whenever see here's the New York session though, and even when the New York session low got broken, I did the same thing. New York session low got broken. So what you do is, on a 5-minute chart, is when these lows get broken, right? Not even broken, they have to close, right? And it closed on this 5-minute candle way down below here. And I didn't even wait. I usually try to wait to see if it was going to pull back up. I just didn't even wait. I just sold and then let it go. And then I already had the orange line drawn. And as soon as it got there, I just closed it out. So that was my good takeaway on Friday, other than USD CAD. I took away, it was a good, I want to say it was like 150, 317. Was it really that much? 29. You know what? I think it was this one. I remember it dropping below the New York one, and me not wanting to let go of it, but once it dropped below this one, that's when I was really like, okay, I have to, take control of this. Yeah. Okay, so around 230, actually it probably would have been, because I think I do remember, yeah, it did struggle for a little bit, and I couldn't remember if I wanted to sell or not. But it was, yeah, somewhere around here, 150, 200 was definitely what the pips were that I caught on that one. Which is interesting, because as soon as I closed it out, I thought it was just going to hang around, and continue going sideways, and it just turned around, went right back up. So I could have just bought, but I didn't expect it to buy like it did. So at least it ended on a somewhat good note. It still didn't end on a good note because, I mean, it definitely went from like a high to a low, ended midday. Now, ever since the Asian session, we are actually still below that low. So tomorrow is going to be interesting whenever we start the session to see where we are at, if we are going to end up going higher or going lower. Let's see if there is any news that could have us their third week decline. Yep, it's down. These are all like a couple days ago. Nothing that's going to help us for tomorrow. And yeah, tech sector still dragging for some reason. I think it's because there's so many laws and regulations and stuff coming out around the world about, you know, TikTok and the Apple Store, and you know how they have a monopoly, and it's just like, yeah, come on, people. Like, just because they own an app store and they basically invented the damn thing doesn't mean like where else are people going to get their apps from? You know, they get. Like, is somebody going to build a website with some kind of app store? I mean, you can get apps from a website. You know, they just direct you to the app stores. I honestly don't understand these rules and regulations, and usually neither do government people either. That's why you shouldn't trust them to run businesses. You shouldn't trust them to run anything. You shouldn't. I'm very hands-off when it comes to government. They should just stay out of our lives and you know, let companies do the best, because people vote with our dollars, and if we don't like a company, we will not put our money into them. And if things come out that you know, that we don't agree with about the company, we can definitely choose not to do business with them. So that's the best way I can put it. But right now I think there's a lot of rules and regulations that are surrounding the markets that are making it uncomfortable for people to trust in. That, and we were just at a point where we were overbought a couple weeks ago, and for some reason we're just still in this sideways motion on this pullback. But hopefully it ends soon. Equities market, you know, definitely a little bit different than Forex. I'm not for sure. You know, let's say if we do have a trading bias of tomorrow, and we do think that bias is going to be a buy, I'm going to draw a fib from the high here, right? Actually, I should probably have done it the other way around. To most recent low here, and it looks like it is in that perfect zone. But then again, I don't like to do these kind of things with, you know, I would do this with Forex, but not with something like an indices market. I'm just going to wait until the New York Open and see if it's near a high from the previous session, and then I will go from there. But as far as a forecast is concerned, I am not going to lie to you. I have no idea what SPX is going to do. I do remember saying a couple of weeks ago I thought it would at least pull back to 3290, and that was, I can even show you when that was. Well, let's go to a 1 hour so I can show you. That was whenever it reached here. That was whenever it reached here. I thought it was going to pull back down to here. I think I had all that drawn out, and I thought this was going to be the time when we had that huge pullback. I was definitely wrong about that, and I think that's why I have this marker drawn here, because this is where I thought this was going to be the pullback to where it was going to be. And now it has pulled back to that marker, but it just did it a couple weeks later, and it made it a huge pullback, a bigger pullback than I think we expected. So And I have this gold line. This gold line is an ascending broadening line. So if I go through the week, right, what you do is you see this from 2016, I think it's 2018. You see that same line. And this is the top of it. It hits the top of the Corona stuff, and then once we surpassed that recently, that's when the pullback happened. So I think that was the catalyst. I think we were oversold again, and so that's what caused the pullback. The bad thing is that on a daily or on a weekly basis, we haven't pulled back to the 50 yet. On the daily basis, we are just under the 50. So that is not a good thing. So on the daily basis, we are just under the 50, which means we could eventually pop this 50 and then start going backwards until we hit the 200, right, which is the weekly 50, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If we are on the 4 hour, we are definitely just under the 50 and the 200, which could be signaling even a further pullback. So those are all not good things in the S&P market. NASDAQ, I'm not for sure. I just go over the S&P usually, but if we're looking at NASDAQ, same thing. We are underneath the 200 and the 50 for the 4 hour. Let's see where we're at on the daily. Looks like it's the same. This is just that's a trend line I had drawn from a couple weeks ago, and it looks like it eventually pulled back past that, so we can get rid of that trend line since I don't believe in trend lines anymore. And this would be the same kind of broadening line that I had drawn for the S&P. If we were to draw the same exact thing for the NASDAQ, there's where it would be. So we actually could see it pull back to that, because we're definitely under the 50 on the daily, and on the weekly, probably nowhere near the 50. Yeah, no. And I hope we don't get nowhere near the 50 on the weekly. That would be very, very bad. So let's just hope let's see if there's any news coming out for the NASDAQ. Middle East markets. I'm not sure what the Middle East have to do with NASDAQ. World leaders, March United Nations, 75, pandemic challenge. Okay. Precious gold prices firm as tepid $1.10 Erlin support. Okay, not really sure any of that has to do with the NASDAQ. I do know that Apple came out with a new iPad, so hopefully that will help Apple in its prices. Other than that, that's about all I got for you. It is now midnight. I have talked enough, and so I will now shut up and get out of here. But hopefully you guys got something out of this, and if you did, and you do like my videos, and you like hearing me rant and ramble, and you like my way of talking about the markets, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's somewhere right around there, right? Yeah, I'm sure you can find it. But yeah, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Actually, the like button is better. Lets people know that there are people watching my videos, and that they do like them. Share them with your friends. Check out my Twitter, called Bodies and Wicks. Follow me on that. Check me out on TradingView. I'll put all of the information to where you can contact me or follow me or whatever on there. But yeah, that is what I got for my outlook for this week, or for at least the next couple days. Hopefully I'll be coming out with one every day as I continue to study even the markets even further and further, and we'll see what's going on for the week. Again, check out Forex Factory. Make sure you're knowing what the news is ahead of time, because we have quite a few red folders this week. And other than that, keep your pants on.